Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. There's like a snowstorm outside. Today I'm gonna film a story time. This is why I dropped out of high school.
Oh, what are those?
Disclaimer, technically I did drop out in 11th grade, but I went right on to get my GED. I did really good in GED class actually, and I went on to college and the rest is history. I'm gonna let you know inside my crazy world at the time at the age of 16 to where I just stopped going to public school. So let's just dive right into this. I think I'll go take a stroll for a while. Growing up I was, bless you. Growing up I was very shy. My first year of high school, 9th grade, was at the same school district that I was at since 3rd grade. I was living with my mom and little sister. My mom had just gone through a divorce. We clashed a lot that year. I tried to come out of my shell somewhat, like I started wearing more makeup, but I was still really shy. School wasn't like terrible or anything. I did get targeted by some really nasty girls just because they knew they could get away with it because I was more quiet, but in reality I would never like start any drama. I would barely talk. I wasn't allowed to hang out with anybody outside of school. I had a couple, in school friends, so that was nice. There was like this one day in my Tonawanda high school experience where like this really hot senior guy had asked me to be his square dancing partner in gym, so I was that day alone. Like the popular girls like came up to me and were like, oh my gosh, like blah 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 blah. Like, yeah, you never talk to me. But aside from school, I had like youth group. All my social outings were like youth group in church, which was fun. I had like a best friend at youth group who was kind of like a bad church girl like me, and I would hang out with her sometimes outside of youth group and school. And then also I had my dad. I would spend weekends with him, or like every other weekend with him, and that was like huge. My dad was kind of just like my escape. Like we would go out to eat. He would let me watch, movies my mom might never let me watch. So fast forward to spring of that year, things were escalating more and getting worse between me and my mom. So my dad and I had talked about me going to live with him. I don't even remember what this final fight was about, but me and my mom got in another huge blowout fight. My dad came to pick me up. We're just like that's it, like it's done, like I'm gonna stay with my dad now. I had to finish the Tonawanda school year. I was transporting to Tonawanda school from my dad's house in Kenmore. I had to wake up at like 5:30 a.m. to get there on time. So now that I was living at my dad's in Kenmore, I was going to be going to Kenmore West High School in the fall. I could be more like that normal girl that I always wanted to be. I feel like I was gonna like come out of my shell and like have all new experiences. So the fall of that school year, 10th grade, was not really easy. I was definitely making efforts. I tried making friends. My dad bought me my first cell phone, which was a pale pink metallic BlackBerry. I made a couple friends. I had some crushes. I was a new girl. There was this kid in lunch. Looking back, I don't know what I saw in him. I got my number in lunch. I said something one time to my one friend in history class about him, and she was like, oh yeah, like I know him. I ended up getting back to him that I said like we texted. And then he tried like,
why are you telling people that?
Seriously? The one friend that I had made in history class, she had this other friend was a bitch. And one time Rishella was like, oh, you should, this was in the fall, she's like, oh, you should come to this basketball game, the basketball game tonight. So I walked to school, I meet up with her, and she's with, we were sitting in the bleachers, and there was this kid from another school, and he was like, hey, like what's your name, like trying to talk to me, obviously was interested. I like whispered something in his ear, and he was like, oh, never mind. She was a huge bully. It did not stop there. Things didn't really start to take off for me until like the following, after winter break in 10th grade. Rachel had invited me to like a teen night event. I was like, okay, like awesome, I'm going. So Rishella and her friends picked me up, and they were like all drunk. Her dad was driving though. Nobody was like drunk driving. They were all like drunk, and I wasn't at all. So we get to this dance, and it's like really fun. It's like music and people my age everywhere. I ended up having my first makeout, my first kiss. I have no idea who it was. I started hanging out with people outside of school, like slowly. Towards the end of that school year, I finally had like some friends that I would like see outside of school, hang out with. I'm pretty sure I passed all my classes that year. It wasn't the easiest year being the new girl and everything. It never is. So that summer, that summer things really hit the fan. I started drinking this summer. So my main friends were this girl who was in my earth science class all year, but we didn't really become friends till the end of the year because she was a little bit bougie. So that summer was a crazy summer. I didn't get into too much trouble. But like I said, I started drinking, and that was like really big in my downfall. I also started to get more into guys and hanging out with more guys, and there was a lot of scumbag guys around that area, and I was like tricked into making out with this one loser kid. And then like I had like a confrontation, like a whole mess. That was at the Italian festival. That summer was pretty messy. I guess I made some enemies. Now we're into 11th grade, which this is the year that I dropped out. So in 11th grade, I started at Kemmer West. I also started making friends with some other girls that were like into the party, like drinking scene. I ended up having like a falling out with, she was not the most understanding girl. She pretty much, it was like Regina George, like going out of their way to like make your life hell. Almost tried like fighting me in the locker room. This just went on for a short time, and then I decided I didn't want to go to school anymore. Between jerk guys and like my friend group or whatever like turning on me, I was just like what 15-16-year-old like wants to go to school? My dad had sympathy towards me. When things got bad, he did not make me go to school anymore. He started keeping me home in like December, and then in the meantime, like on weekends and stuff, I would hang out with my new friend group, and that was the friend group that I ended my high school experience with. We were just out of control. We were very, very funny, but we were out of control. We would drink like Four Locos and like the worst, horrible, like type of cheap, disgusting alcohol that you can imagine. Always in our phones, like with guys hitting us up and us hitting guys up and finding guys to pick us up. One morning I woke up to the police in my bedroom. They wanted to know I wasn't going to school, and they opened up a whole case with me and social services where they were going to transfer me over to Kenmore East. But the thing is, Kenmore West and Kenmore East kind of go hand in hand, except for Kenmore East is worse. I did not know that at the time. I was happy to be changing schools. January came. It was eventually time for me to go to my new school. The first day of school, I wore like this low-cut sweater and a mini skirt and boots. Automatically, girls just started hating me. Girls there were extremely nasty. I had a little bit of a reputation at the time. A lot of them to just not even give me a chance and just be super like stuck up and just like nasty to me. There was this older popular guy that had asked for my number. He ended up getting it, and I did hang out with him one night. He was a douchebag, but I made sure nothing happened that night, and it got back to me that one of the cheerleaders, it came back to me that she was like talking to him. I went out of my way to be like, I got her number from my one friend to be like, hey, like what's going on? Like I never wanted any problem with her. And she was extremely nasty back to me. She also had this other friend that was like always trying to fight people and just like cause drama. So I had them as enemies now, which was really awesome. I was just going about my school days at Kenmore East come February. I actually only had like 4 classes in the morning, and then I would spend the rest of my day at BOCES for fashion design, which was honestly like a breath of fresh air. So the principal of the school also at Kenmore East, it was like he had it out for me from the beginning. He was just like not nice. He would tell me to like zip up my hoodie and like cover my boobs. And my boobs were always super pushed up and like all the way out back then. So February break came. It was a complete show. So I obviously spent it with my friend group, and we were just messing things up like every night. This was like the last weekend in February. I was fighting with my dad. I don't really remember over what. And my friend said, come hang out with these guys with me. And I did, against my dad's wishes. He did not want me to go. It was two guys. One of them was like this cute younger guy that was like they were into each other. So they had their thing going on. The other kid, this random ass Jason kid, his name was Jason. He had bleached blonde hair, which is just so far from my type. It was just very like frat boy douchebag-ish. Also like smoked cigarettes, and like he like offered me one in the car, like trying to get on my good side. And thanks. We're at the one kid's house and we're gonna like spend the night, I guess, and they're gonna take us to school in the morning. I'm like, okay, like trying to just go with it. We're watching Family Guy. I knew where all this was going though. I remember literally specifically pretending to sleep because I did not want anything to happen with this kid. Like I did not want to kiss him, I did not want to cuddle with him, I didn't want to touch him, I didn't want anything with him. That didn't work out, and eventually we had like a cot on the floor together. He put hickeys all over my neck. If we're gonna be completely honest, like I was not that good at saying no back then, or really standing up to boys at least. We wake up in the morning, they take us to school, and that's that. I went to school that day and I went home. So that night, Alexis was texting me, and come to find out that Jason is like a very recent ex to this girl at Kenmore East. I start like hearing rumors that she's gonna try and like fight me, and my friend knows her and she's like, no, like she's not, like trust me, she wouldn't do that. So the next day, like I don't want to go to school. I 100% don't want to go, but my dad isn't hearing it. So I end up taking a taxi cab to school because that was my reality. That's what I had to do like half the time, is take a cab, which wasn't cheap either for my dad. So I go in late that day, I take a cab, I'm just like dreading it. I'm just walking through the halls like, why? Like I don't want to be here. I make it through all those first classes. I just need to make it out of the building to the BOCES bus and go to BOCES. So I'm at my locker and I'm literally like inside my locker getting my things because I don't want to be seen. And so I'm getting my things, and what do you know? All of a sudden, I get shoved, just like shoved from behind. I didn't see her coming in or anything, and it was literally like a movie. Like all my books just flew out of my hands, and I was just like, I was honestly in shock. So she proceeds to punch me like right here, and it was just very weird. Everyone was like, oh my gosh, you got punched in the face, and I didn't. It was right here. She left one tiny like scrape. That was it. She was like, you want to hook up with Jason, you little...
No, actually, he's disgusting.
I was not in like the fighting mode. I was frozen. Looking back like all the way, I wish I would have like smacked the shit out of her. The worst part about all of this was there was this huge crowd of kids, and amongst them were like all the girls that gave me problems. You could see like they were so satisfied that this was happening to me because they would have never had the balls to do it themselves. Then it quickly dispersed. Like a teacher came, took me to the nurse's office, and the nurse was like, she barely like did anything to you, like she can't hit. And I was like, I know. After that, my dad picked me up. Literally after this happened, he took me across the street and we got pizza at a pizza place. So there's so much more stuff that happens. But that was essentially my last day at high school. I guess you could say the reason I dropped out was just poor decisions and bullying. Just the school's not really taking enough action. And I did attend a scary boarding school for one night, but that is an entire different story. So this video was way longer than I expected. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.